Thank you for joining. Hello, all. Hello. Come on in. Come join us. Hope everyone has their favorite beverage to drink and you all are comfy and safe and ready to have this important conversation. Thank you, Black women, my sisters. Wow, I feel like we're in Wakanda. Wakanda forever. Wow, thank you all. Thank you. Welcome, welcome. I am Nijiama Smalls. I am the CEO and founder of the Black Girl's Guide to Healing Emotional Wounds. And I am so delighted that you all took time out of your day or evening, I should say, to have this very important conversation with us. As many of you all know, let me start this way. Let me ask you all some questions. Who has been anxious over the past week or so? Raise your hand. Has anyone been anxious over the past week or so? Who has been, do we have anyone that has been um, laid off or worried about, concerned about their work, concerned about their job? Anyone? Drop it in the chat or raise your hand. Anyone? Cool. Thank you. Okay. So that's some of the things. Well, let me ask this question. Who's been worried about the future of our country and our future? Yes, yes. Wow. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So this is why we are having this conversation, y'all. Of us are worried, we are anxious, we are concerned. Um, we are met with a flood of executive orders, and many of those executive orders impact us, y'all. Okay, as we've seen, the erasure of Black History Month in the federal government and not honoring Juneteenth. Y'all, the federal government is the biggest employer nation. Okay. So they are starting at that level to erase that are important to us, right? It's like our well being is being exchanged for the comfort and the pop of his base and his level of popularity. Okay. So, with that said, I wanted us to get together. So, me and my girls, Aisha, Tatum, and Meghan, we got together and said, you know what, we're going to do a town hall. And let me back up before that. This came from the idea, actually came from a member of our board, Dr. Jimmell Felder, who was just sharing some things that she experienced as a physician and so on, and some concerns that she had. And she said, we need to do town halls. We need to do town halls. And that's when I recruited some other women, Aisha Tatum and Meghan, and we pulled in Nakema, and we said, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's us together and have a conversation and have a town hall forum so that people can feel heard and feel seen. And more importantly, we can develop a strategy. Okay. So that is what this is. That is what this is about. This is a place, our safe space where we can vent, but also we are going to come up with a strategy because although Black women are supposed to be resting, y'all, we still have some work to do because we can't accept this. Okay. We have to, we have to fight this, unfortunately. And so that is what we're going to talk about is our resistance. So without further ado, let me introduce to you all our speakers that we're going to have tonight. Let me start by introducing to you um, Aisha Tatum. Aisha is my friend, and she's also a life coach, a holistic life coach. And let me tell you, if you're looking for someone to speak a word into you, she is the one. Okay. I call her my little baby TD Jakes because she is filled with wisdom, and you'll hear from her shortly. Also, we have Meghan Aderele. She is also my friend. She is a minister. She is a healer. She is a business coach. She is an organizer. She is all of the things. She will gather you and get you all the way together. And I love her for that. Um, we also have my newest friend. She's also serves as a member of the advisory board, as I mentioned, for the Black Girls Guide to Healing Emotional Wounds. She is a phenomenal woman because she is a physician. She spends her days and times doing the work for our communities to help us be better, to help us to take better physical care of ourselves. None other than Dr. Jimmell Felder. She is just an awesome woman. I'm so excited to talk to her. And last but not least, we have civil rights attorney and activist, none other than Nakema Levy Armstrong. Y'all, if you have not heard of Nakema, Google her. Nakema has been on the front lines in the George Floyd situation. She has also been holding police officers accountable for the way in which they handle and treat members of our community. She has been behind the scenes strategizing as we're going through this new uh, administration. And y'all are going to know, I don't like to say a certain person's name. So you're going to hear me say administration and words like that. So just bear with me, okay? At any rate, so Nakema is one that is she's a firehouse, she's a powerhouse. So if you are not familiar with her, you are going to tonight, you are going to gain some good wisdom. And again, she is going to help us lead us into strategizing. Okay. So let's give a virtual applause for our speakers tonight. And I want to give you all an applause as well, because I realize that history is now. This is very important. What we're doing is so important, okay? And advocacy is in our DNA, right? And so let's give ourselves a round of applause for showing up. And also, you are going to share your input with us as well. So I am just really looking forward to continuing on this conversation. So, with that being said, um, we had a soloist, but he is a little bit delayed. So we're going to switch things around. Aisha, will you lead us into a breathing exercise? Because we want to make sure that we have really set the atmosphere for this conversation. And secondly, y'all know this is stressful to us, right? What we're undergoing is stress. As we just talked about, some of y'all raise your hand. This is anxiety producing. So this exercise that Aisha is going to walk us through is really going to be a tool that we can use as we maneuver into into this new space that are venturing into with the new administration, to keep us sane, to keep us calm, and just to help us manage. All right, so I'm gonna turn it over to you, Aisha.
Well, good evening, ladies. It is so good to see all of you beautiful Black queens. I feel honored to be in your presence, and I am looking forward to having this conversation. Right now, what I want to do is I want to guide us through some breathing work as well as a very brief meditation. And this is something that we can utilize at any point in time, anytime we're feeling stressed, anytime we're feeling anxious, anytime we just don't feel centered or at peace. So I want to invite you now to just take a nice, slow, deep breath in through your nose. Fill your lungs all the way up and exhale through your mouth. And don't be shy now. When you exhale, exhale. Deep breath in through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. Good. We're going to do this for a few more breaths. Nice, slow, deep breath in. And exhale. And as you're inhaling, your abdomen, it should expand. As you exhale, your abdomen should contract. So as you inhale, let your stomach go outward. As you exhale, feel your stomach go in. And do this a few more times. Nice deep breath in. And exhale. Now, I want you to scan your body. Notice if you're feeling any tension, any stress as you continue to breathe. And just slightly begin to relax those shoulders, your fingers, your feet. If you're currently sitting with your feet crossed or your legs crossed, I want you to uncross them, get centered. And exhale. Now, what I'd like for you all to do is begin to rotate your head to the right in a full circle as you continue to breathe. And exhale. Nice full circle. Deep breath in. And exhale. One more time. Nice full deep breath in. And exhale. And now we're going to go to the left. Nice full circle. Deep breath in. And exhale. Nice full deep breath in. And exhale. One more full deep breath in. And exhale. Now we're going to return to center. And I want you to gently shrug your shoulders backwards. Just rotate those shoulders backwards, nice and slow. Nice full deep breath in. Remember to breathe. And exhale. Deep breath in. And open that mouth. Exhale. Now we're going to rotate forward. Nice full deep breath in. Exhale. A few more times. Nice deep breath in. And exhale. Good. One more time. Nice full deep breath in. And exhale. Now I'd like to invite you to close your eyes and continue to breathe. And with your eyes closed, I want you to imagine your safe space. Where is that space that makes you feel cozy, relaxed, comfortable, safe, and secure? Continue to breathe. Exhale. And I want you to imagine that you're currently in that space now, whether that's a couch, whether that's on a bench, a beach, wherever that is for you. And I want you to feel the feelings of being safe, comfortable, secure. Nice full deep breath in. And exhale. Just continue to relax. And in this space, I want you to bring to mind something that is very troubling for you. It could be the current political climate. It could be relational issues, family issues, or just something that you just don't have peace about. I want you to bring that to your mind and continue to relax. And deep breath in and exhale. And as you bring that to your mind's eye and you feel the stress of it, you think of how unsettling it is, I want you to now imagine another version of you, a higher version of you, a bolder version of you, strong version of you, a more aligned version of you, sitting next to you. And I want you to look that version of you in your eyes. You all are now a mirror reflection of each other. Continue to breathe. This is your higher self. your sacred self, your spiritual self. And I want you to take that version of yourself, take that hand. You all are now holding hands. So grasp your hands as if you're holding hands and looking in each other's eyes. And in this moment, there's no need to express what you're stressed about, what you're hurting about, what you're angry about, because that version of you already knows. Just continue to breathe. And as that version of you gently caresses your hands, gently hold your hands, you feel the warmth and the safety and the security. I want you to now have that version of you speak to you about what you're unsettled about. What is she saying to you? What is the truth that you know? What are the words of wisdom that that version of yourself would share with you? What are the guiding words that that part of you knows is the truth without a shadow of a doubt? And I want you to hold on to that wisdom and have that conversation, and just take a moment to have that conversation with yourself. Continue to breathe and exhale. Continue to know that you're safe, that you're secure, that you're powerful, that all is well. Continue to hold hands and let her speak to you. Breathe in and exhale. Now, what I'd like for you to do is place your hand on your heart and imagine that that higher version of you is placing her hand on your heart. Feel that hand on your heart. Continue to breathe in and exhale. And now I want you to speak out what that higher version of you shared with you. What wisdom did she impart to you? What do you already know within yourself? What guiding light did she provide for you? What safety, what security, what words? And I want you to embody that and hold that and embrace that, because that is the truth of who you are, and that is the truth. So hold that feeling. Continue to breathe in and exhale. Good. Now I want you to imagine that version of yourself wrapping her arms around you. So give yourself a big hug. Wrap your arms around yourself. Squeeze yourself, hold yourself tight. Give yourself the biggest hug that you've ever given yourself in a long time, and continue to hold yourself. Squeeze, breathe in and exhale. Good. 2 more breaths in. Exhale. Nice deep breath in and exhale. Now that version of yourself is now integrated with you. You are now one. I want you to slowly open your eyes. Give yourself some kisses. Mwah, 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 mwah. And come on out. I hope you guys are feeling really good. And that's something that you can do at any time, no matter what is stressing you out, because we know intuitively, not only is God with us and God is within us, but we have that spiritual essence. We have all of what we need is here within us. We are a resilient people. So, and we already know the truth. So let's just embrace that, embody that, walk in that, and come from that place tonight as we have this conversation and strategize forward collectively. Kisses to you all.
Naj, we just coming back next month.
Yes, yes. That was wonderful. Yes. Thank you. Whew. I feel so zen and relaxed now. The tension is out. Thank you. Namaste. Yes, Sabrina Laurie. Namaste. Thank you, Aisha. Appreciate you. Okay, we are going to move into it. And get down to our conversation. We're going to get down to the get down. I'm going to start with asking a questions, okay, to our panelists. So my first question is going to be, and I'm going to start with you, Aisha, since you're already talking. Describe in your own words what is happening in regards to the current administration and how it impacts you, how it impacts us?
Well, what I believe is happening in the current administration is something that is an agenda that I feel has already been planned weeks, months, years in advance. I feel like this is something that was already decided a long time ago, and it's just been rolling out. And now it's just becoming more obvious and more blatant. And I feel honestly like this is a satanic regime. I mean, if I'm being real, I feel like what's happening is completely just evil. You know, it's just pure evil. And when with all of these initiatives, like I shared with you all before, initially I just felt so disempowered because I felt like, what can I do to change this? Like, what can I do? It's almost like my voice just it doesn't matter or didn't matter. And I think I've shared that to you with you all, just feeling like there was nothing that I could do. But in hindsight, I now feel like, okay, I know what's up. I know what you all are doing. So now I feel like I'm reclaiming that part of myself, and I can look within myself and say, you know what? I'm a resilient woman. I'm a powerful woman. We are a powerful, resilient race. And now it's just time to make sure that I'm prepared, that my family is prepared, and that we're prepared collectively. So if you want to take away or cut back research on, cancer and healthcare, we already have a host of tools and resources that we're going to start dropping. Like I already dropped holistic health hacks tools. I'm going to teach you how to insert some wheatgrass in your vagina to help you prevent cancer. I'm going to teach you how to, start incorporating ashwagandha and shilajit to start detoxing heavy metals from your body. I just think it's about taking the knowledge that we already have, arming ourselves with that and applying it. And I feel like from a collective standpoint, it looks like it's a wound. I mean, it's just a deeper wound, like just a knife jabbing at us all, just trying to just destroy us. But it's not going to happen. We cannot be destroyed. We're not going to be destroyed as a race. Look at us now. We already strategizing. We on what day? 2 weeks in. We coming together collectively, and this movement is only going to continue to expand. So I think for us, it's just about what we're doing now, strategizing, taking the knowledge that we already been given, applying that knowledge, sharing resources, and coming together collectively to continue to make an impact. And so that's my 2 cents.
I love that. I love that. And agree with, yes, bravo. Thank you, Aisha. Yes, thank you. You hit it spot on, and especially the part about, it is satanic. It has been premeditated. We didn't just arrive at this place, y'all. These things were in motion long before January 2025 or November 2024. This plan was carefully thought out, and here we are, right? So thank you for sharing that. Dr. Felder, Jimmell, I want to ask you, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I just say bravo. Is that this is much needed, right? So thank you for, you know, speaking a word of an idea, and it was just a concept of an idea, but now it is a full blown, you are here. So I think each and every beautiful woman who was on this call. And I know, like Naj said earlier, we're supposed to be resting. We made this whole joke about we're going to just rest and mind our business. But our business is the future of this country. And so there's no resting to be had. There's no minding our business because this is our business because the attack is strong of the enemy. When I do speak about that person, it is evil. I mean, anyone who can sense the air of evilness that is around us, um, you can sense it. And, we're a discerning people. You can't put a lot of stuff past us. So we're very discerning spirits. And so we really know what's going on. Now, do you want me to delve into the health part, or you want me to wait till later to talk about that?
You could go ahead, talk about it now. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So I told Naj I could talk about, I could take up probably the whole hour, but I'm not going to do that. But there are a couple things that I want you ladies to be aware of as far as health goes. So Aisha had touched on a little bit about the research. So there has been a dismantling of health information that has occurred in the last 2 weeks. I don't know if you all are aware, but a lot of health information has been taken down off sites, off of CDC, off of NIH websites, and things have been kind of dismantled um, under the guise of, we're doing website, you know, re-ups or whatever, but, we know what it is. So on last Friday, there was a datathon. Harvard hosted it to mine health data. So a lot of minds across the country came together to the datathon to make sure that we could hold true to some of the things that we need. So all the HIV stuff, the STI stuff was taken down immediately. And there's a lot of algorithms that people use in day-to-day care of folks. The VIS state sheets were taken down for vaccines. The vaccine schedule was taken down. A whole bunch of stuff. So the dismantling of information is in full effect. And so it's more important than ever to use trusted sources. I mean, I know we all well, I'm of a certain age, but some people are TikTok information people, but this may not be the time to get your information from TikTok. So you need to vet your sources of where you're getting your information from. And the reason why I say that, because if TikTok is sold or bought by somebody who also owns X, you have to be very careful about what they're feeding you. The propaganda is going to be very real. And so you're going to have to be able to discern, just like I said before, what's truth and what is not. And there's very much an attack on science that's coming. And so I'm very fearful about that. So the main thing as a pediatrician and obesity medicine specialist, the vaccine access, I'm not quite sure how that's going to all pan out. The dismantling of health information I already talked about. Medicaid, there is some talk about slashing Medicaid, cutting funds there to put those funds somewhere else. So that's also very concerning for pediatricians and people who take care of women and children. And then the last thing I will talk about briefly is ICE now through executive order can go into safe spaces. Safe spaces are religious institutions, healthcare settings. There are no such things supposedly as safe spaces now. And so if those of you who work in hospitals, offices, you need to have a safety plan. I don't know what else to call it, but what you're going to do if ICE comes to your door. So at my specific institution, we're going to be holding, we're going to call it a policy think tank because these policies keep coming out. So we got to figure out what to do. So if you're a healthcare institution, your medical office that you work at, churches, you need to have a plan of what you're going to do if ICE shows up at your door. And so those are just my initial thoughts.
Thank you for sharing. I have a lot of questions within that, but we're going to come back. We're going to come back to you, Jimmell, shortly, because I want to give Nakema a chance to um, elaborate and share her thoughts as well.
Good evening, ladies. It's wonderful to be here in community with you all. I feel our energy as Black women, and it's really powerful. And I think that that's the energy that we're going to have to rely upon. Our energy, the energy of our ancestors, and knowing that there is a God that's in control and bigger than this moment. So we have to stay grounded because the purpose of what's happening with this administration is to have us all in a frenzy, right? Our head on a swivel as everything happens day by day. And I just want to remind us that the news cycles are not focused on what's in our best interest, what's in the best interest of our mental, emotional spiritual and psychological health. Their goal is to keep us watching and to keep our attention, right? So there's a business aspect connected to everything that's going on as well. And if we're thinking that, hey, they're sharing all this with us because we need to be informed, I think we have to think again and take steps just in the spirit of what Aisha walked us through in terms of the self-care elements. We have to think about that in terms of our consumption of the news, whether traditionally or through social media, because it can cause people to become overwhelmed, to not be able to think straight and think clearly, and to have an almost doomsday mentality, right? Because of what's going on. But I like to think about the situation from the perspective of our ancestors and everything that they went through, right? So if this is scary for us, imagine what they all experienced on, for those who are descendants of enslaved people on those plantations, having to work from before sun up to after sundown, brutality, sexual assaults, forced breedings. I mean, the list goes on in terms of what our people went through. And somehow they found a way to resist. They found a way to survive. And that is why many of us are here to this day. So we have to look at it from that perspective, that we come from a people who, beyond all odds and hope, not only found a way to survive, but to also thrive. And our influence on American and world culture is unmatched, even if they try to give us different narratives. So one way that has been helpful for me in terms of processing all of this is to view it through a lens of activism and fighting back, right? I think about, of course, December 1st, 1955, when Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat. A lot of times we hear the story and we kind of take it for granted. But in some ways, it's our opportunity to put ourselves in her shoes metaphorically, in terms of understanding the power of resistance and making a decision that you are not going to go along with the status quo, right? Because that's what they want us to do. They want everybody to bow down. We see these corporations bowing down. We see elected officials bowing down. We see many folks in society bowing down to evil. And we have to make a decision. Which side of history are you on? And what will you choose? So, me being from Minneapolis, many of you all have heard of Minneapolis now. A lot of folks didn't know Black people live there, but Black people have lived in the state of Minnesota and the Twin Cities for a very long time. And we have a very robust and active community of organizers and activists. So that's why when May 25th of 2020 happened, and there was a spotlight on Minneapolis after George Floyd was killed, many of us had already been doing organizing work, shutting things down, demanding justice, running for office. You all didn't see it until George Floyd was killed, right? And so we kept that momentum going, for all of that time, many years before George Floyd was killed. And so in the midst of the uprising that happened here, we had corporations that said, hey, we are going to invest more in diversity, equity, and inclusion. We're going to invest in racial justice work. We're going to change our internal policies. We're going to do all these things, right? We're going to pledge billions of dollars. We all heard it all. Whether we've seen it all, that's another story. But we heard it all in terms of what these corporations were saying they were going to do. And Target Corporation was one of the companies that essentially built their business model around racial justice, multiculturalism, and diversity. So many of us here in the Twin Cities were stunned when we got the notice about a week and a half ago through the media that Target was making a decision to roll back its DEI initiatives, policies, and investments. And so being a place where activism regularly occurs, we decided to take an activism approach. So one of the things that I was able to do was to go on to social media on the day after Target made its announcement. And I started a dialogue with people in my network, posting an article and saying, by now you all have heard about what happened with Target. What's our individual and collective responsibility in terms of responding in this moment? And then I reminded them about the promises they made after George Floyd was killed and everything else. So people started responding, and they started saying, I'm cutting up my red card. I'm not going to shop at Target anymore. I'm going to return things I bought. I'm going to tell it's just a huge, beautiful dialogue on social media of people taking action that day. And then when I asked about collective action, I had some folks who recommended, a blackout or a boycott. And there was one Black woman in particular that said, what about a blackout beginning on February 1st? And so I said, okay, that's a great idea. So prayed about it, talked to some other organizers about it, some of whom are on this call. Talked to them about it and said, we have to take action. This is the place where George Floyd was killed. This is one of the companies that profited significantly off of the commitments that they made after George Floyd was killed, and giving the impression that they are a company that shares our values for diversity, equity, and inclusion. We have to do something. So with that, we decided to launch a boycott against Target beginning on February 1st. And, which of course coincides with the beginning of Black History Month. And we encourage people to buy directly from the Black vendors and entrepreneurs who have products on Target shelves. And I know that, there's a difference of opinion from some vendors saying, hey, still go into Target and clear the shelves of Black products. And some people may choose to do that. But I'm at the point, in light of everything that we have dealt with as a people in recent history, not to mention what our people dealt with before, I had to draw a line in the sand. And I said, I'm not spending another Black dollar in Target unless and until we see them reverse course and get things back in order in terms of their focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we held a big press conference last Thursday, and we had speaker after speaker that talked about our disappointment with Target for basically cowering down to the current administration and rolling back these efforts that were so important to many of us. And we centered Blackness in that press conference intentionally and unapologetically. And we also invited allies to be involved as well, to say, you all have a role in this, because part of why they all feel comfortable doing this is because they think that white people will continue to shop and won't care about the impact to everyone else with these policies and what they're doing. And so, we've been getting the word out. I wanted to share that with you all and encourage you to consider joining the boycott. We have begun to see movement in terms of people not shopping there, the comments online. Leslie Redmond, who is a fellow attorney and activist who's on this call, she sent me an article earlier today where Black folks let Target have it online when they put out their Black History Month video saying, look, you're gaslighting us after what you've done. Like, how dare you try to promote Blackness in the midst of this? So we are gaining traction in terms of this boycott, but we know that the problems also extend beyond Target. We have several companies, right, that many of us patronize on a regular basis that have publicly rolled back their commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. For some of these companies, the administration provided them with the perfect excuse to do what they've always wanted to do. And if they folded so easily, the man hasn't even been in office for 2 weeks, then was the commitment ever genuine to begin with? So I want to encourage us to fight back using our dollars, making sure we're buying Black, we're buying local, we're using our voices and letting people know that we will not tolerate disrespect and an attempt to erase some of the progress that has been made in recent years. So that's how I'm fighting back. And I feel empowered in this moment, in light of that type of strategy.
Wow. Wow. Thank you, Nakema. I appreciate everything you said. And listen, piggybacking on what Nakema said, I'm not about to let anyone use me, right? And that's the mentality we got to have, right? You can't love us when it's good, when it's convenient for you, when it's okay, we're going to put all the Black history stuff, it's Black History Month and so on. But when we really need you, where are you? Okay. And that's the way we got to look at it. And listen, I know y'all, I love me some Target. That's my happy place. I haven't set foot in Target in almost 2 weeks, and I refuse to. My daughter asked me the other day, when are we going back to Target? Why are we boycotting? And I had to explain to her, this is bigger. This is bigger than us shopping, right? And we have a choice. And our money, our Black owned dollars, our Black dollars, there is power behind that. Not only is my blood, my sweat, my tears behind that, but there is power in that. And because there's power in that, I get to choose. And if you can't support me when I need you. So, with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Meghan Aderele. Meghan, chime in, share your thoughts.
Shalom, everyone. Oh, it's a lot. I don't even know where to begin, right? So one of the things that I think from a spiritual standpoint, talking on what Miss Armstrong stated about our ancestors, and from a numerology standpoint, we're in a year of 9, right? And when we look at the year of 9, it is oftentimes a number that is associated with our ancestors, right? It's that number of completion, that number of spiritual enlightenment, that number of gaining and understanding. And I think that this is what we are really in at this moment, because there is a shift. And there's been a shift for a while from just the whole patriarchal society into one of the divine feminine. And so things are really shaking up and they're spicing up, right? And that there are some different levels of like transfers that are happening is what I really think is going on. It's a wealth transfer. It's a season of disruption. It is that shift, like I said, from that masculine energy going over to that feminine energy where you see more women leaders and more women speaking up of all different races, of cultures and everything else. And so I think that it's important for us to, one, to be ready, right? To also ask ourselves those things such as, how is this hurting me? How is this going to help me? How is this going to help me to evolve? How is this going to help me to grow? Because as of right now, we're thinking about our ancestors, but we also have to think about the legacy that we plan on leaving, right? And so you have to just ask yourself and continue to do those exercises like what Aisha had got us to do, to be grounded within ourselves, because this is our reminder right now for us to get back to self, but also to get back to source, get back to spirit, get back to those things that we know is true. And so, I would just encourage everyone to, think about those things that are going to help to keep your own nervous system regulated. Think about those things that if you know that it's too much for you to watch the news, put yourself in time out from it, right? Do those things that you know are true. But it's also important for us to really focus in on that inner work for that outward reward. So think about those things of what you have to do so that you could be whole, so that you can be complete, so that you can be ready, so that you can prioritize all those things that you need to prioritize. And when I think about those situations, such as like Target, I got my master's degree around the last economic downfall of like 2007, 2008. And I personally remember Target doing a huge push for people that were graduating with their masters and things around that time, right? And so when you think about those things, I come from that generation where some of us, we've had financial instability because we've been through recessions and depressions and all this other kind of stuff. And so during this time frame, it's also important of, if you're stressed about your job or you're stressed about business, to also just really sit and for you to think about those things of how can I have some additional financial stability and financial security? How can I build my own? Right? Because if we look at a lot of the creators, it's like, how can we build our own? How can we maintain our own? How can we create our own? And how can we support those that are doing so? And so that's just one of the things that I want us to really sit and to take away is that let's pull together all of those various resources, from our sisters, from our communities, from all those different people so that we can just really support one another and really get down to the greater scheme of building community during this time.
Thank you, Megan. Yes, precisely stated. Someone in the chat stated, we are the ancestors of the future. And I think that is key. And I think that's the way that we gotta look at things. And I agree with you, Megan, 100% about the news cycle, and we got to put ourselves in timeout. I was getting the alerts on my phone from NBC News, and especially last week when it was executive order after executive order after executive order, and it felt like those executive orders were being thrown at us like a frisbee in the park, right? And it got so overwhelming. Like Nakema said, you feel like you're in this doomsday kind of situation, and it starts to wear on you. It increased, and I could tell, right? It increased my anxiety. I'm worrying. I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? All of these sorts of things. Although we do need to be concerned, but we can't allow this to overwhelm us. Like Nakema stated and Megan said, it's the goal. That is why it's these rapid fire executive orders coming at us left and right. Before you even, when you wake up in the morning, you see one. And then in the afternoon, you see one. The goal is to overwhelm the senses. Dr. Felder said shock and awe is the goal, and that is it. So you have to, I had to delete that app from my phone. I want to stay informed, but I don't want to be overwhelmed. So that's how we got to look at that, right? So with that being said, we're going to take a pause right here and say a prayer. I'm going to have my sister pray before we get into questions and answers. I think this is a great point for us to kind of collectively come together as sisters and pray and have and come together to say a word of prayer to God, because he can step in and intervene on our behalf. So Felicia Renner, you ready?
Here, I'm ready. Hi, everybody. Good evening. I missed a lot of the conversation because I was coming from another call, but I'm just honored to be in the group with everyone. And sorry, my toddler's up, but I'm just gonna take a moment to just pray over us, and then, like Nijiama said, you continue with the conversation. God, we just thank you for this moment to be in your presence, Lord. God, you see the world that we live in. You see what's happening in our nation. None of this has come as a surprise to you, God. God, we just ask in this moment that you would give us peace over every anxious thought we may have about the future of this nation. I ask that you would give us wisdom in knowing how to strategize and how we need to move forward, God. I ask, Lord God, that you would just show us the way forward, Lord. Show us the way forward. Show us how we need to connect. Show us how we need to strategize, how we need to unite in our communities, the work that we need to do to strengthen ourselves and to strengthen the people around us. But most importantly, give us peace, God. Give us peace, Lord, as times may seem uncertain. Give us peace and help us to know how to move forward, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Najma,
Thank you. Yes.
if I may, I just wanted to do one last talk before we do some questions. Just
Sure.
one thing that I think that we can do, I'm going to drop, I hope it'll work in the chat, the phone numbers to all your senators. I think this is something that we can actually do to have our voices heard. I mean, I know that our voices are powerful, and so I think we have to have some action steps. So RFK is going to, we have to go through the full Senate to vote, to be voted on, to be confirmed for the Secretary of Health and Human Services. I'm just going to read to you the 13 agencies that he will be in charge of if he is confirmed, and the 1.7 trillion budget that he will be in charge of. And so, ladies, I'm encouraging, we're going to have to, we're going to have to get our hands and feet moving. We're going to have to call. I know we get those email chains and they say click the email button and you think you've done something, but those staffers are not doing anything with those emails, but giving you a form letter back. So you're going to have to pick up the phone like old school and call and call and call. And you may just have to do that for the whole 4 years because there's going to be lots of things that we need to raise our voice on. But these are the 13 agencies that he's going to be in charge of. Administration for Children and Families. And I'm just going to give a brief blurb on what that is. That's child support, child care, Head Start, child welfare. Administration of Community Living is for the aging and disability population. Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality, that's for to improve the quality, safety, effectiveness of healthcare for all Americans. Advanced Research Project Agency for Health, that's research funding agency that supports transformative biomedical and health breakthroughs to provide health solutions for everyone. The Administration for Strategic Preparedness and Response, that is the public health preparedness response to recovery from disasters and public health emergencies, just like the COVID was. The Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry responds to and protects people from harmful chemical exposures. CDC, you guys know what that is. CMS is Medicare and Medicaid Services, and that covers more than 100 million people in this country, a lot of children as well. FDA protects us from the safety, security of human drugs, biological projects, medical devices. HRSA improves access to healthcare for people who are uninsured, isolated, and the medically vulnerable. The Indian Health Services is for the Indians and Alaska Natives. NIH is our primary federal agency for conducting research. And SAMHSA is our work to improve substance abuse and mental health treatment to those who need it. So for those who watched the confirmations, and I had to watch it because I'm a healthcare person, so I needed to know what this man was going to say. He did say, I don't know if you all watched it, but he did say that Black individuals needed a different vaccine schedule because we have different antigens, and we didn't need the vaccines. And Senator also Brooks let him have it. She was like, "Now, what kind of different vaccine should I get?" Because I'm a Black individual. So it's a lot of foolishness. It's a lot of just no science, no evidence base, just a lot of dangerous stuff may happen. And so again, trusted sources, there are things in the works so that we can preserve data and research. And it may not come in the way it used to come, but people are trying to preserve that stuff. So be rest assured, we're all working. We're trying to preserve some stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Jimmell, Dr. Felder. Someone said, Antonia said in the chat that RFK is going to be in charge of the maternal mortality rates. That is definitely concerning, y'all. So we need to be mindful of that. And someone else said they are really their ancestors' children. So these are things that we definitely have to not only pray about, but in terms of strategy, Dr. Felder just laid out one part of the strategy, y'all. We need to reach out to our elected officials. They answer to us, y'all. Our elected officials, we are the ones that put them in office. They need to stop being afraid and speak up. So what we need to do is overwhelm them, overwhelm the system with our phone calls, with our emails. It takes a second out of your day. Put that on your calendar, y'all. If we're all calling, and share it with our friends, and we're going to send these out, the strategies, right? But share this with your friends, right? If we're all calling and emailing and letting them know, we're not going to stand for this. This is crazy. What are you doing? Why are you allowing this? Okay. We have to flood it. We have to overwhelm them. Nakema laid out two other key points. Buy Black, y'all, as much as we can. We need to buy Black, y'all. We need to make sure our dollars are staying into our community and so on. And I think Meghan spoke on this earlier, seek out those Black-owned businesses and so on. Listen, think of it this way. When we're asleep, money is still moving. Okay. How do I want my money to move? I want my money to stay in my community when I'm asleep. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But also we need to boycott. And somebody dropped it in the chat. We talked about boycotting Target, but there's McDonald's, there's Walmart. At the very least, these individuals Target should have at least said something to us. They should have addressed it, right? If you have our back, then where is the statement? You've got PR people on your team. Why aren't you saying anything? If the whole thing was like they're rewording it to say belonging. We haven't heard anything from you, right? So don't just assume that because you're behind the scenes fake rewording it, that we're going to accept. We can't accept that, right? If they're going to tiptoe and cater to the administration, they need to put some of that energy on the people who are really their consumers, the ones that are coming in their stores faithfully, like I was, like many of you all are, faithfully. If you love us, then at the same time, you need to show us. If you care about us, you need to show us. Say something, okay? Because silence is leading me to believe you don't have our back. Even though you're putting out your Black History Month stuff this month, that's all good and well, but that's not enough. And we have to set the bar high. No, you can't just stay silent. This is a time when we need you the most, and we've been faithful. We have been faithful supporters of Target, McDonald's, and Walmart, and so on. So I think it's in the chat, all of us to see. Leslie, I completely agree with you. We're not going to Target. Y'all repeat after me. We're not going to Target. All right, Meghan, you want to take it from here? We're gonna take a pause and do a couple of questions.
Yeah, sure. So if anybody has any questions, and if you want to come off chat, if you can just raise your hand for me. But I did see a few things, questions in the chat. One of the things that I noticed is that various people said that they have been having a lot of trouble sleeping lately, as well as headaches. Aisha and the Good Doctor, if you all would give us some, holistic standpoint, Aisha, and then Dr. Felder, if you can just give us some other insight on some of the things or tools, resources, things that we should do as we begin to notice physical signs for things that are happening to us in this moment.
You want me to go first, or Dr. Felder, do you want to go first? Don't matter? Okay. So one of the reasons why we have a difficult time relaxing our brain is because we're overly stimulated and our nervous system has to be regulated. So we want to learn tools and strategies to help regulate our nervous system. And some of the ways that we can do that is not only through our diet and lifestyle. So, making sure that you are looking at what you're eating, getting off processed foods, utilizing various resources to begin to detox your body, making sure that you're taking magnesium and zinc. A lot of times we have deficiencies in key minerals, and those deficiencies in those minerals can lead us to start having physical manifestations in our body. But from a holistic standpoint, we also understand the impact that emotions have on physical symptoms. So if you're dealing with a lot of emotional anger, pain, you're dealing with heartbreak, you're dealing with anxiety, you're dealing with all these suppressed emotions that haven't been properly released from the body, then those things can then lead to headaches and other types of physical manifestations. So some good tips and tools that I like to use are emotional freedom therapy, learning how to tap on various meridian points within your body, making sure that you begin to utilize certain breathing techniques to begin to help yourself release that energy from your body. You can also get involved with fascia release, which helps to release, stuck emotions that are stored within your muscles or within your tissue. And then also looking at your diet and your lifestyle. So making sure that you're eating right, eating right, feeling right, thinking right, and checking in with yourself. I think a lot of times we are overly stimulated. Like, look at what is going on. Like, this is crazy. Like, we're literally living in chaos. But what we want to do as Black women is to make sure that within ourselves that it's not chaotic. So coming back to our center within ourselves. So thinking about the thoughts you're thinking. So if these thoughts are causing you to feel more anxious or have negative emotions, how can you then become the victor of that story or of that thought? How can you reframe that thought and take a different perspective on that thought so that you're not constantly overthinking or having OCD about a specific thought? So just, I think that those are some things that you can start with. And then getting a sheet of paper out, writing some things down that are bothering you. What are you feeling anxious about? What are you feeling emotionally unrest about? And start utilizing some of those tools. So tapping, magnesium, zinc, ashwagandha, making sure you're drinking adequate water, getting sunlight, breathing techniques. There's also, Dr. Felder probably know a lot more about this, but there is a specific panel that you can have. I know functional medical doctors order a panel where it can look at your mineral deficiencies, your vitamin deficiencies, and just looking at those things so that you can start working on preventative health care. We know they're trying to cut back, but if we stay ahead of it and we see what we're already lacking or deficient in, then we can begin to rectify that situation. So that's my thoughts on that.
Thank you, Aisha. So I'm gonna just say, because February is American Heart Month, and Black women have a higher rates of hypertension and cardiovascular disease. I'm going to make sure to tell you all that you have to mitigate your stress. These are stressful times. I mean, when Najma opened the call, she said, how many people are feeling stressed? How many people are feeling anxious? If you already know that you're feeling stressed and anxious and it's 2 weeks in, it's going to be a long 4 years for you. Okay. So I'm just going to tell you a personal story about me, and then we'll move on to the next question. So at the end of the first term, I was in a shambles. I don't know how y'all, I mean, I went to therapy for the first time in my life in 2020. It was after George Floyd. It was COVID. So I was a medical professional, and we're doing all the crazy things and seeing people in their cars, and we were washing the bags and the mail and all of that stuff. So it was just a lot, and so but I determined after he got elected that I was not going to be that way anymore. Like that person in the White House has no power over you, has no power over your peace and your level of stressing about it. If you're going to worry, don't pray. Pray, don't worry. And I really sincerely mean that. I mean, because we have to get to the point where we are going to be able to moderate our own peace, because it's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. And so my word for 2025 was peace, strategically chosen, because no matter what the outside world is doing, saying, throwing at us, You got to find your inner peace. So that, that wasn't the doctor answer. That was just as Black women answer. You got to mitigate your stress, because if you don't, we don't want no hypertension. We don't want no high blood pressure. We don't want no heart attacks. We don't want no strokes, because Black women, that's what we leave here with. So we're not leaving. We're gonna, will on the will of our ancestors, our mothers, our grandmothers, our great grandmothers. We got this in us. And so the DNA that can also lead us to early death can also lead us to power and resilience. And that is what we're going to lean on in these 4 years. We have power, we have resilience, because it's in our DNA. And so don't let anybody fool you to let you think that we are, less than, not worthy. No, 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 no. We're not going into the 4 years like that. We're bringing all our power with us that our ancestors put in our DNA, that God has given us. We are going to get through this. So I'm the defeatist attitude. No, we're not doing that. We are going to mitigate our stress. We're going to get our sleep. So for those of you who can't sleep, open your Bible, start praying. Don't have that news on until you go to sleep. Do something that is going to center you, get you ready for a restful night's sleep. And I'm sorry, that really wasn't a doctor answer, but I hope that was good enough.
No, but sometimes, that's the answer that we need. A lot of times, Naj and Aisha, we have a girls' chat, a group chat that's always going on. They be like, "Girl, make you so crazy," because I tell them that I don't let them fools bother me like that, right? Because at the end of the day, it is the epitome of what I've always had to deal with in corporate America, right? And so it's one of those things where they don't trigger me as much as other people, just because I've had to deal with that my whole career. And so one of the things that I have a question for Dr. Armstrong at this point, right, is, girl, I gave you your new title, Dr. Armstrong. So Dr. Armstrong, we claimed it, right? So when it comes down to things, when we look at some of the things that our elders might say, right, is sometimes dealing with the devil that we know versus the one that we don't, right? And we look at that perspective when it comes down to boycotting and not shopping at some of our most frequent and favorite stores like Target and Aldi, right? What would you say are some of the best resources for those of us who also realize, like, even if you go to other resources and online places, sometimes at least you know their standpoint versus you could be shopping with someone else and you don't know their standpoint. What would be some tools and tricks to support others during this time of us not going to some of our favorite places to shop?
I know it's a huge sacrifice. And honestly, that's part of why we started out focusing on Target, because we had people saying, "What about Walmart, McDonald's?" Oh, I mean, you're going to name everything, right? And I don't want people to be overwhelmed. So thinking about what is manageable right now for us, where can we all channel our collective energy? And because of the hypocrisy of Target and just all the things and them cowering so quickly, we said we're going to start with Target first. So some people in response to this and making plans about what they're going to do have done research and compiled lists of local stores within their area, where they know that it's Black owned or locally owned, or even big box stores that have doubled down on their commitment to DEI. So that might mean, doing a little homework. If in your area you are trying to motivate people to get involved, it might mean doing some research, or getting a young person who doesn't mind doing the research, to compile, a list of stores or websites and things like that, that people can utilize in this particular moment. But I think for me, I'm like starting with Target and then Walmart. Just it's for me, it's gonna be a progression, of all these stores until I'm totally weaned off of all of these stores. And I think in our mind, we have to treat these stores like they don't exist. It right now it's exposing the dependency that some of us have on these stores and our love for them, but they're not loving us back. Right. And so why are we giving so much allegiance and going out of our way to keep shopping there? They made it easy for us to shop. But at the end of the day, we have to make it hard for them to mistreat us and take our dollar for granted. So it does take some research. It might take, for example, if there's a Costco in someone's community, but they decide, hey, I don't want to buy bulk, it might mean some creativity in terms of making a shopping list and then, buying in bulk and then dividing it amongst you and your friends,
Yes.
right? We may have to get creative in this moment to send the messages that we're trying to send.
Love it, love
Does
it.
that help?
Perfect, perfect. Thank you. Yes, it does. And I think that's so important. Like what you said is to support one another, support community. Like, at some point you're gonna need all that toilet paper. You might not need all them collard greens that you can get at one time, right? But if you go and neighbors, elderly, people from the church community, just if you feel and you have those additional resources, just think about, this is bigger than me right now. This is my sense of community. So I think that was amazing, amazing. Thank you. One of the questions that I did see in the comment is that they were asking for all of the panelists to pin their social media. Just to let you all know, Naj, she will send out an email that has links to everyone's websites after this, since you're registered or you're on this email list. So you will receive this. You will receive some information on the next town hall that we have planned as well. Also in the chat, there are some additional resources that people put in, such as just Googling certain calming apps on YouTube, looking at different things for Headspace and other mindfulness apps. But what I want you all to remember is that your power lies within your two hands, right? And so what you can always do is anytime you need to come back to self and to source, all you have to do is just rub your two hands together, because it starts in your hand, it starts with your head, and then it starts within your heart. And so just always remember that all of your power, all of your purpose, it lies between all of those three areas. And so consistently tap into those three areas that are already within inside of you. Okay. And Naj, I'm gonna cut it back over to you.
Perfect, perfect, excellent. Thank you. Wow. Any other questions? Any other questions that we wanted to have? Any that we wanted to ask or bring to the floor before we move on to the next part? And I wanted to kind of add on to that, right? As we're talking about, the financial component of this, right? Because again, money is power. And one of the things that we have to get back to is creating our own systems, right? Because we have started to rely on a system that wasn't built for us, that doesn't support us, right? And so we have to build our own system. And that's what they did. If you ask any of the elders that were alive in the 50s, they had their own systems in place. If someone couldn't pay their rent, they would have a rent party. If someone couldn't pay, have money for the to buy their groceries for that week, there was a local corner store down the street owned by us that would write their name down, and they would pay them when they got their check, whenever they got paid or whatever, right? And so we have to get back to some of that, maybe a 2025 version of that. And what that looks like for my family is this. My grandmother was one of 16 siblings, okay? And so her and her siblings had children, and their children had children, and so on, right? So it's a lot of us. I have a very large family. So we've decided to set up a fund, right? A trust fund, so that if anyone in our family wants to start a business, if anyone in our family has fallen on all hard times, we want to be able to give out scholarships and so on to our family members. You can tap into the funds that we have, right? There is no reason why, particularly in my family, there's so many of us, we should never have to go to a bank to borrow money, right? And so those are some of the things that we have to get back to doing. As Nakema mentioned, it requires a little bit of creativity, but we are creative people. We are the creators. And so we have to get back to developing our own funds, our own systems. We have to pool our resources together so that we can support businesses and our community, right? If you have a business idea, if you gotta put up a GoFundMe or a Cash App, right? And these days and times, we should be willing to support that, right? If everybody you knew put a couple of dollars into your GoFundMe or Cash App is seed money, right? We're talking about seed money. You can get your business off of the ground, right? And so I'm saying, and I know this sounds very basic level, but this is just where we are. And these types of things is what really can help push us, continue to move us forward. And so that we won't have to worry about regressing in this time, okay? So I think we have to rely on each other and really support each other in this season. And another part of the strategy is also, y'all, we have to be a sisterhood. We have to really show up whole so that we can really look at each other as sisters instead of competitors, right? And we have to understand a hard truth is that even though we're in a sisterhood and we talk about being in community, and anybody knows me, I am a community driven person. I love being in community. I create community everywhere I go. If you know me, you seem genuine, you seem warm, boom. We're cool. You can come over and have drinks. That's just how open I am. But the thing we have to realize is that, y'all, community sometimes get messy. Sometimes we get our feelings hurt. Sometimes we get our heart broken. But that doesn't mean we give up on each other. That doesn't mean that we let go of community. That doesn't mean that we go in a hole and isolate ourselves, right? We dust it off. We have the hard conversations. We forgive and we come back, right? Because we want to be women that can make space for each other, right? We want to be women that we are a pleasure to be around and that we can build something together. All of us here, we've had over 100 people on and off this call tonight, right? This goes to show the power of sisterhood and what we can do. I'm seeing all kinds of, the chat's been jumping all night, all types of resources. People are thinking, I see somebody saying they're thinking about businesses and so on. We should be able to connect and build because we need each other. They've shown us y'all, they don't care about us.
Yeah, and Naj, we have two questions. I know Christina had her hand up first, and then I see Christy has her hand up now.
Go for it, because you know I'll talk all night. Go for it.
So, Christina, did you want to come off mute, or do you want me to just read the question that you put in the chat?
Yeah, I can. Like, I already put it there, so I'm sure you all know the gist of it. But I was very curious because we mentioned, social media here and there, how that could be utilized and how much of it should be. I know that's a very, relevant topic right now. So I was just curious to see what you all had to say about it.
So I'm gonna use my HR hat for a second, right? to come up, I would always just be mindful, especially if you are working for someone else. Because for me, I have seen a lot of things that are not necessarily true. Some of the work that I do a lot with governmental contracting. And so there are some things that I have seen on social media that have not always been true. And then things get recanted and this and that and everything else. And so just be mindful. be mindful in this season. Just think about, especially if you are working with different people, certain things that I would want to post, I might not necessarily post because I also know where some of my money comes from, right? And so you have to sometimes just be mindful in your actions and what you're posting, what you're sharing, what can be utilized, but it can also serve as like a way to communicate with certain people. And so just take some things with a grain of salt. I've been in some meetings where some things seem to be true that they're not, some aren't. So just be mindful and use your intuition. Will be will be my personal feedback on certain stuff, because people are watching. Companies, I've been in conversations recently where they have people in HR, they're asking people not to post certain things on social media, and they have people that know that certain people are vocal, and they looking at people's pages. And so, like I said, just be mindful. I know, Naj, you want to say something?
No, I was just going to say, Christina, and that's a great response. Were you talking about uh, also about which platforms we should use? Which, are we boycotting Facebook? Because I know a lot of people were getting off of the metaverse because, Zuckerberg supports the current administration. Is that also a part of your question too?
Yeah, that could be a part of it. I wasn't initially thinking it, to be honest, but it is.
Okay.
I will say this week I'm doing a Black History Maker post every day for Black History Month. And today, one day, one of my posts got taken down. I've never had a post taken down before. And so there are certain buzzwords. Apparently, one of my lawyer friends, I was posting she's a Chicago lawyer, and I was posting that she has a board game that she created. And I was trying to put the link to the board game, and it took my post down. And as a lawyer, she told me there are certain things that you have to do. So like, you have to, so like for racism, I don't think you can use racism anymore. You have to put a exclamation point or do something else for the word to go. So there's some buzzwords that are now, or think justice or something else, some other things that if you are too over the top, they'll take your post down. I've never, in all the years I've been on Facebook, and I've been on from about the beginning, I've never had a post taken down. So just be very careful about what you're putting, but I didn't stop. I reposted it and just figured out a way to game the system because everybody needs to know about this particular lawyer and the board game that she made. And basically, it's about teaching teenagers, specifically Black teenagers, how to deal with the cops if they're pulled over in the legal system. So that's the reason why I guess the post was taken down, but it got right on back up. So what I would say is we can't boycott all the social media sites. I mean, I'm not a TikToker, so I use Facebook to educate. That's what I'm doing this month, putting up Black History Maker post every day, because I'm gonna celebrate Black History Month regardless. And so if you have a lot of friends, you can, educate them on things that you want to educate people on. It's your page. But also be cognizant that they are watching a little bit more closely than they've ever done before. And I understand that now with all of the billionaires kind of having a boy band group, that we probably do need to be careful about some of the things that we post.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Jimmell. Thank you. With that being said, I know it's almost 9:30. Do we want to take one more question?
Yeah, we have Christy has her hand raised.
Hi. First of all, thank you very much for pulling this together. It's been wonderful. I do want to make the suggestion because I hear it often about the next 4 years. and it sounds as though we are resigned to him being in office for the next 4 years. One, he has no intentions of only being in the office for 4 years, but also there are midterms coming up next year. And there is work that we can do to shift the Senate and shift the House so that when he is impeached, he can be removed. So, I just really want us to move away from being resigned to him being in office for 4 years so that we're thinking strategically about getting him out. That was all.
No, completely agree. Thank you, Christy. Hey, Christy. Yes, absolutely. 100%. He plans to overextend his stay, but y'all, we can't accept that. We won't have that. So yes, vote, vote, vote. Yes, get your friends, vote. Even if you have to take them to the polls on your backs, get them to the polls, vote. Get him out there. Get him out of there.
And Naj, before we go, I know we're getting to the end, but I hope that this was very beneficial to everyone. And if you can just help us to drop in the chat, we want to build off of this conversation. And if there's any specific topics that you want us to cover for our next town hall, if you could just pop those in the chat. And then once you get an email with everything and recapping everything from tonight, if you want to respond to that email, but that would just help us to plan for future events. We would appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Megan. And just to recap, y'all, our strategy. We are boycotting, say goodbye to Target. We are going to buy Black as much as we can, y'all. I'll tell you, every chance I get, sometimes I end up buying stuff I don't need. And I'm not saying don't buy stuff you don't need, but every chance I get, even if it's one thing, I will buy something Black to keep the money in our community. We have to also create our own systems, y'all. Remember that, support Black-owned businesses, support each other, find ways to creatively invest in us, in our businesses, if you got a big family like mine, listen, most of our families had, our ancestors had a lot of children. Back then they needed field hands, right? And so those children had other children and so on and so forth, right? And so we need to tap into those. When y'all are at the family reunions, that needs to be a part of the family reunions, is how can we put together this trust fund or whatever you want to do? How can we do this so that we can support each other? Again, we should not rely on their systems. Their systems don't love us, okay? And then one thing I meant to mention that Nakema stated is we got to tap into our allies too, right? Encourage those who say that they're an ally. If you're an ally, then you won't shop at Target. If you love me, you will not shop at Target. You will stand by me, okay? And support me, because this is my life at stake. This is my livelihood. This is my well-being at stake, okay? And then remember, overwhelm the system. Hit up your elected officials, call them, email them, let them know this is crazy. We don't need RFK there. We need to let them know we're not having this. Let them hear your voice. Get to know them. Schedule a meeting with them. Okay? That is our plan. Finally, one thing we're going to do is we have a very important person with us, y'all. His song was played in the Kamala Harris campaign. She walked out a couple of times to his music. He was a winner or a contestant, sorry, on The Voice. He is a powerful voice to be heard. He has a special song for us that he is going to sing to help empower us, to keep us moving on. I'm going to turn it on over to none other than Jamar Langley. Take us home, Jamar.
What's going on? How y'all doing? Can everybody hear me? Pretty
Yes,
good?
we can hear you.
All right. I had to do some mathematics to set this up so it could be a little decent. But thank you for having me, and it's a pleasure to be here, to be honest. But yes, let's get singing. If I stand for the one who stands alone, looking for an answer, searching for a home. If I for all humanity to build a better future, to once again. No more broken promises. There's so much work to be done. Here we go. It's on us. The day has come. Time to change. Make the world a better place. We won't stop till we win this race. I got you. You got me. We are afraid, looking fear right in your face. We won't stop till we win this race. I got you got me. Together we'll win. Oh, 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 oh. I got you got me. Together we'll win. Oh, oh, oh. Whoa, oh, 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 whoa, oh, 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 I got you. Thank you. I didn't want to prolong the time, but you guys can find that on all platforms. It's out everywhere. And as you said, um, I was blessed to have it as part of the Kamala Harris campaign before it even came out. So that was a blessing in itself. And to see it played and to have a video behind it was just, it was amazing to contribute to the movement, basically.
Wow. Thank you, Jamar. Send me the link to your song and I'll send it out to everybody so we can, to your song and to your music so we can continue to support.
Absolutely. And thank you for having me. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, anytime, anytime. Thank you. Well, how about we come back next month, y'all?
Do you want to do final thoughts from the speakers and then wrap it up, or what are you thinking?
Yes, go ahead. Yeah, Aisha, go ahead. Yeah.
All right, so this will be real brief. I think we have some great takeaways, some great strategies. One of the things that I just wanted to touch on before we wrap up, like Nijiama and Meghan, everyone spoke about today, is about creating your own economy. Like we are all, like Jay-Z talks about, he's a business man. Like we individually have our own gifts, our own talents. And I really believe that at this time, we need to create our own economy. So learn how to create some digital guides, learn how to create some passive income, learn how to monetize your natural gifts, your natural talents, because each and every one of us is gifted to some capacity. There is no reason why we cannot all begin to tap into what those individual assets that God has already given us and begin to monetize them. So I think that that should be something we begin to focus on. Not depending on a job. The job, look, we already know what's up. The job may not be here tomorrow, but you have a skill set, you have a purpose, you have a calling. There is something you are here to do, and you are able to monetize that. And now more than ever is the best time to tap into it. And I really believe that this is not only a wake-up call, but maybe this is even God calling us higher. God calling us to really look within and say, okay, you see what I have allowed to happen. What are you going to do about it? And I think that that's what this is all about here tonight. So I think that as we begin to look within, make sure we begin to assess ourselves and see how we can go about doing this. And then making sure the same for our children. You know, you can even create a kids book or some affirmational cards, or start tapping into the natural gifts and talents of your own family members, and come together and begin to pull these resources together. The other thing I want to say is I think it would be a great idea to create a resource guide. I know that we've talked about a lot of strategies, but I know we're talking about calling the senators, calling these offices. Maybe we could formulate a specific professional sounding script that can be uniform, that we can all begin to utilize and share within our own individual networks. And that way it may have a potentially greater impact. That's my 2 cents. I love y'all. I thank y'all. And I hope that you all got some benefit from this. Make sure you shine that light. Keep it shining too. Don't let this fool dim your light.
I love it. Thank you, Aisha. Thank you. Megan.
Child, I was back there trying to get the screenshots and stuff for the night. Now check your email. but like as you said, just lean into one another. You know, it's about this time, like I said, it's about getting back to self. It's about getting back to source. It's about getting back to that essence of who we are as a sisterhood, which is community, which is the people, our ancestors. We thrive in community. And so just find ways to pull your resources together. If you have a strength, if I have a strength, and we all have strength and we come together, it is going to get us through this time and beyond. And so one of the things that I wanted to do, that I find that me, Naj, and Aisha always do, is when we know that we need each other, we always ask each other, like, how can we support you? How can I support you? Right? I can call these two at any moment in time, send them text message, crazy stuff. It doesn't matter. And so I feel that it's important that you find that community right now, that you also lean in on, that you grow together with, that you feel empowered with. And, you know, reach out to any of us. We're all humans. You can find us by our names on, you know, on any social media platform, and just let us know how you can be of support at this time, because maybe I can't do it, but I probably know someone else that can. And so just find those ways to, you know, support those strong friends, to support one another, so that we can just get all of our missions and our messages moving forward. Thank you. And thank you for putting this together, Naj. You know, this is, I feel, you know, it's, you know, we need to give you your flowers too, because you thought about it, you put it together, and, you know, we did it. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all for supporting this. And, you know, Aisha and Megan are those girls that you could just call and say, hey, I want to do something, and they'll just, what you want us to do? And you know, they are truly a godsend, right? These are divine friendships. Thank you, Dr. Felder, for the push, for putting it out there, because if it wasn't for you putting it out there, we would not be here. What are your final thoughts, Dr. Felder?
Thank you, Naj. Thank you, ladies of the panel. Thank you, everybody who showed up tonight. This is necessary work. I'm not going to be long because I know we have been on here for a while, but I just want to say, call your senators. I put it in the section. It'll be on your, I hope, on the email when you send it out. As far as a little script, I can just draft something up really quickly and put that with it too. But like I said, we're going to have to be busy. You're going to have to be calling. You're going to have to be in people's faces. We're going to have to resist. And this is our time, like John Lewis said, to get into some good trouble. So you're going to join me. We're going to all join together, and we're going to get in some good trouble.
Yes. Some good trouble. Last but not least, Nakema Levy Armstrong. Yes. Please share your final thoughts.
This has been such a phenomenal time together. It feels special. It feels timely. It feels necessary. So I'm just blessed to be here amongst you all. Like I said at the beginning, I feel your energy as Black queens in this space, and just all that you are, you're bringing to the forefront. Just to reiterate some of the things we talked about, prioritize self-care. That should probably be the number one thing, because just like when we're on a plane and they're telling us in an emergency, put your own mask on first, right? We can't help anybody else if we're depleted, if we can't sleep, we're unsettled. We can't be there for anybody else, let alone ourselves. So we have to prioritize self-care and also lean on each other. You know, as folks have said, invite your girlfriends over for dinner, you know, cocktails, whatever. I mean, well, I'm not going to get into what I do, um, but I think that, you know, leaning on each other is vitally important, and digging into our culture, right? When we did the press conference that I referenced, there's a sister on the call, Monique Colors Doty, who's a longtime organizer. When she got up there to speak, she gave a whole history lesson, right? She said, Target, if you don't want to support diversity, equity, and inclusion, don't use the countertop, right? A Black person invented the countertop. Don't use this, don't use that. And she dug into our history and threw it back at Target to say, you need us. You have been able to do what you're doing because of us, you know, and the people who came before us. We're not going to let you take us for granted. But Monique wouldn't have been able to do that if she didn't know her history. So dig into history. And even if you find one hero or shero that you can connect to, learn their story, and embody some of the things that they had to embody to overcome adversity, I feel that that would be empowering. And then, like someone else said, think about your own. I think it was Aisha. Think about the gifts and talents that you have, right? We might have the next Picasso or Jean Basquiat on this call. Somebody who, you know, decided to go to school, work, take care of the kids, and put that dream on a shelf. It's time to pull those dreams back out and tap in. You know, we might have some film directors, some playwrights. Tap in. Use all that energy that they're trying to get us riled up over what's happening in the news and pour it into something that you are really passionate about, so that during this time you have something powerful to share with the world and to remind yourself of how incredible you are. So thank y'all. I love y'all and hope to hear from some of you guys and hopefully be on a call next month too, listening in.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Nanika, we're going to send that out. She's asked, can you recommend some Black history books? Yes, we will send that out. The world is waiting. I love that, Sabrina. The world is waiting on what you're sitting on. And you've got a room full of sisters here that are ready to support you. Okay. So reach out to us, connect to us, stay tuned. We're going to follow up with you all with some next steps. Look us up on your socials. You have all of our names. Stop by the Black Girl's Guide to Healing Emotional Wounds. Grab a book, join the community, and I'll see you back here next month. Appreciate you all, and shout out to our speakers. Thank you all. Thank you to our beautiful speakers. This was wonderful. Love you all. Have a good night.
Night.
Thank you, Naj.
Thanks.
Thank you all. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
All right.
Good night.